Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2021 Week 10 rankings, breakdown, start, sit, the whole shebang, position by position. You want to jump to a specific position? Easy. Use the time codes. Additionally, if you're looking for the actual rankings lists, they're in the description of this video and podcast. They update every single day. And if you're looking for the injury report, there is the link to the most recent newsletter for free right now. But subscribe to the Mayo Media newsletter, and you will get one on Tuesday evening with an injury report. Then you'll get another one on Saturday with a full going into Sunday injury report as well. Completely free to join, so please go do that. Smash like for the episode, and please subscribe to Mayo Media Network and play in the Listeners League. The Listeners League link is now available. First crack at it, 3,000 spots available. It'll dry up by like Friday afternoonish, so go reserve your spot right now. $15 to play on DraftKings, 3 max entry, no rake, thus making it the best tournament on DraftKings. Plus, I'm in it, so that's like free money. If you missed it, Chris Meany and I did a rest of the season ranking show on Monday on Mayo Media Network. It's on the Pat Mayo Experience podcast feed as well, if you want to go check that out. One person said it was very helpful, which I think for the first time in 9.5 years of doing this show, someone actually found this show helpful. So apparently it was, I credit Chris Meany completely for that. But if you want the full list of position by position, full season rankings, that's down in the description as well. Just go click on it. You can see the rankings. You want to listen to the show? That would be tremendous news. But now, let's get into these rankings for Week 10. Jake Ciely from theathletic.com is on the line. We got some breaking news before we, 30 seconds before we came on air.
That's better than what we usually get, is the 30 seconds after we're done recording.
Yeah, but what's going to happen is the moment we're done recording, that news is going to retract itself. And it's like, no, it was fake news. Don't worry about it.
I like the Saquon Barkley's fake news. Like, he got tested, then not tested, then he was positive and not negative, and then he was negative, and they're like, what the hell's going on? And it doesn't matter anyway, because he's not playing anyway.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he couldn't play regardless with his ankle. And then they're going into bye. You actually have the final episode of the All In podcast coming out, where you got a whole bunch of people from around the industry to give their favorite trade target at the fantasy trade deadline. Spoiler alert, if anyone watched yesterday's show. I like trading for Barkley right now, but did you hear some good names being tossed out?
Yeah, there's also, so thank you for being a part of that. Yeah, it was kind of it's been on hiatus, so we'll put it on a definite hiatus. Who knows where my career is going to take me? I'm not burying it forever. Maybe it's like Adrian Peterson, he'll come back in 2 years. But yeah, you took part of it. EY's actually got to sell, a surprising sell, a little hint there. So there were sells, buys. I think, honestly, of all of them, there's a little trade advice piece in there from Chris Harris, but I think the most surprising one was EY's sell so far. That has to be the most surprising one so far. You're not going to have to listen.
What was Barkley the most popular trade target?
No, surprisingly, I don't think I've had how many clips do I have? 7 clips, and I supposedly have 3 more on the way before the end of today, and I haven't had an overlap yet.
Interesting. Yeah, so I'd say my 3 favorite running backs to trade for, if people just want the quick rundown of it: Saquon, David Montgomery, and then Melvin Gordon would probably be my 3 that you can acquire for value. Obviously, if you can get like Dalvin Cook or Christian McCaffrey, do that. But if you want, if you want a running back who is a bit devalued at the moment, it's not like you're going to get them for free. You're going to trade something for them. But I just think that they're going to be better in the fantasy playoffs and the rest of the season than they're currently valued at. That's my take.
Yeah, I think the big one, you and I, we've talked about this for 3, 4, 5 weeks now. It's just Melvin Gordon, because we all want Javonte Williams to happen. Javonte Williams looks great out there. There's no question about his talent, but so does Melvin Gordon. And unless Melvin Gordon gets hurt, it's just not going to happen. What they're doing works. And honestly, if you split it down and you look at it, the touches are almost identical. The big difference is Melvin Gordon's putting up more yards on his receptions. That's really the only difference between Williams and Melvin Gordon so far this year. And
the snap share does slightly lean in favor of Melvin Gordon. It's not a huge discrepancy, but he is touching the ball more.
Yeah, it's like, 53, 47%, somewhere in that range. Like basically what break even in Vegas would be. That's what you need to do. You have to win at 53% you have to win at?
I believe it's 52.7% of the time in order to beat a -110 spread. It. Yeah. That's what it's going to be. More on that on Friday's gambling show. Let's talk running back rankings for Week 10. No surprise, Dalvin Cook is facing the Chargers, so he is number 1. JT, Jonathan Taylor, not Thomas, number 2. Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, James Conner. Now that Chase Edmonds is going to be out, it looks like 4 to 6 weeks. That's the only change from the Monday show as well. We didn't know about the Chase Edmonds injury and at least the severity of it at the time. Now we do know. So Conner until he gets hurt as well. So you're going to go pick up Eno Benjamin or something like that. But James Conner will be ranked number 8 this week. Darrell Henderson number 9. Leonard Fournette against the Washington Footballs comes in at number 10. So here is the breaking news that we heard right before that the show came on. We have Nick Chubb. I mean, Felton also did too, but they both tested positive for COVID-19. Now, apparently they're both vaxxed, so they could do a double negative and return to action this weekend. But have we seen anyone yet test positive midweek and come back and play on Sunday?
So I said that to Jeff on my rank show last Wednesday is that I don't think we have, because we were talking about the situation last week and it was in coupling and in with the Barkley situation. But like, it was Noah Fant. That's who it was. We were saying Noah Fant because his sleeper tight end was Okuwago, so whatever. But no, I don't think we legitimately have seen anybody test positive in week and then actually play that week. Now, I don't think have we had anybody on Tuesday? Because I feel like Noah Fant was like a Wednesday or something. I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm sure somebody will tell you in your comments. But maybe because it's Tuesday, it's early enough, but I do not think we've had one, at least fantasy relevant. Maybe there's like an offensive lineman somewhere. But there hasn't been anybody that we've noted and wanted to talk about in fantasy where they've been hit with it and then they still played that week anyway.
I don't even know who the backup would be at this point, because if Chubb is out and Felton is out, Hunt is still on IR,
Johnson.
And John Kelly just ended up going on IR yesterday as well, so it's just Ernest Johnson, right?
It's just Ernest Johnson, and maybe they use Schwartz back there. But the point being is it doesn't really even matter who's behind Ernest Johnson, because Ernest Johnson monopolized that backfield, and that was with Felton and Kelly both active in that game. So I don't think we would really care anyway. I wouldn't be surprised. Like now, I think this will be telling Wednesday or Thursday if they sign somebody because of the John Kelly situation, or that somebody's being made active off the practice squad of how they feel about the situation. But I wouldn't be concerned about any of those options anyway. Well, the simplest version of what we're getting to here is, as you take the name out of your rankings, I see you do that, is if there is no Nick Chubb and there is no other option with, I mean, again, Felton doesn't even really come into the conversation. I just think you just take out Chubb and you put in Ernest Johnson.
Well, it's funny because obviously I think that Nick Chubb is a better running back, but he wasn't playing like the full complement of, he was playing sort of like the same complement of snaps he was seeing with Kareem Hunt, which I thought was kind of strange. Now, obviously he broke off his big run. He had a huge game, paid huge dividends if you played him last week. And that's what you want from the whole Nick Chubb experience. He even caught a pass downfield. I was watching the game. I was like, who the hell is that burly guy down the field? I was like, oh my God, it's Nick Chubb. I've never seen him run a route more than like half a yard down the field. This is insane. It had to have been a broken play, or they were like, this is our one play. We're going to use it once with Nick Chubb and no one will see it coming. Although the Patriots probably have it scouted now. I'm just trying to find the Patriots. They are bottom third in the league in terms of run defense. You can probably pencil in Ernest Johnson now, like where I would have had Chubb penciled in probably for max 70% of the snap share in terms of Cleveland running backs. Ernest Johnson's probably going to get like 85, 90% plus. Now, obviously, he's not as good, but they do use him in the receiving game more than they tend to use Nick Chubb, at least based on the one start that we saw him in. That
one start, exactly.
Yeah, like, do I put him, like, would you play DeAndre Swift or Ernest Johnson?
I'd play Ernest Johnson, because what it comes down to is you said 70% max. Honestly, Nick Chubb's max is 60. He has not even hit 60% of the snap share this year. Whether it's been with Hunt or Johnson or anybody else, Chubb is not going to ever be on the field 60% plus of the time, because that's how it is. And I just knew that, and I double checked week 9 because I didn't know if it changed last week. Week 9 was 58.7% in a game that they ran a lot and had control of for most of the game, because I included him in my worry report to say as soon as Hunt went down and that Chubb's role did not increase, I said you would be worried if you thought Nick Chubb could get to top 5. And some people were like, well, then why are you worried? I was like, no, the point was, if you thought this injury to Hunt would get him to top 5, that's not going to happen. So where you had Chubb is fine. I agree with you in the fact that Ernest Johnson it's weird. He gets a bigger snap share if there's no Chubb. So you know what? I would actually put Ernest Johnson. I think you can have a conversation, Ernest Johnson and Darrell Henderson, honestly.
Who would you play?
As crazy as it might sound, and you know how much I love Darrell Henderson, but the 49ers and the 2 and 3 minute drill, now that's 3 minutes, not really a drill, but the 2-3 minutes, they still go to Sony Michel. Henderson got dinged up in that game, and I know that game went sideways, but it's just that feeling of every single week of, if you put it this way, who do I know is going to be on the field 80% of the time? Dearness Johnson.
That's how I feel.
So I give him the slight edge.
Okay, I'll go with you. I'll put in Dearness Johnson at number 9 in the rankings, one spot behind James Conner, because
crazy.
I almost fully expect James Conner, James Conner and Dearness Johnson are essentially the same guy this week now, just based on the role that they have in this offense.
Never coming off the field. Yeah, I mean, they're going to get Devontae Booker's workload, which has been 85%. So 85% for arguably James Conner, better talent, and arguably neck and neck talent, if we want to say Dearness Johnson, Devontae Booker, but in the better team, better offense, better matchup than what Booker's been facing last week. But Booker just showed how do you beat the Raiders? You beat them in the run game. They just showed what you could do. So if you told me they were facing the Raiders and it was Dearness Johnson, I think Dearness Johnson, top 10 play. I can't believe we're saying Dearness Johnson, James Conner. This is what 2021 is bringing us, man. Week 10, Dearness Johnson and James Conner inside the top 10.
So that will bump out Leonard Fournette from number 10 to number 11. So he now kicks off the second set of 10 in terms of the Week 10 running back ranking. So he's number 11. Then we have Cordero Patterson, DeAndre Swift, see you later, Nick Chubb. James Robinson at number 14. I do expect him to play this week. Tougher matchup, but he's still going to get all the volume. Then you have Aaron Jones, Devin Singletary, assuming Zach Moss does not play, Josh Jacobs, Darrell Williams, Elijah Mitchell, and Devonta Freeman. It's funny with Elijah Mitchell because all San Francisco has showed us all year that when he is healthy and Raheem Mostert isn't, he is the guy in this backfield. It's like we're all bracing ourselves for this situation where Shanahan just absolutely screws us over. And when Jeff Wilson was activated, it's like, oh my God, Jeff Wilson's probably going to be the lead rusher in this offense. JaMychal Hasty, he's going to get moved in. People are always building this case against Elijah Mitchell. And it just turns out to be Elijah Mitchell's the right answer every week. So he's got to continue to be a running back too.
Yes, and I completely agree with you, and I've been saying that since the Trey Sermon thing happened. I was a Trey Sermon fan, and I said that give Trey Sermon the opportunity, and Elijah Mitchell got dinged up, and I was like, all right, Shanahan's been forced to see that Trey Sermon is talented. And then the very next game, Elijah Mitchell comes back, and Trey Sermon gets one touch. And that week is what I said, and I think you and I even talked about, is that was the week when I said Shanahan has finally made us trust him. He has done nothing but tell us that Elijah Mitchell is his guy. What do we need to do? And this is the point that you're making, which was my point at the time, is what do we need to do to get this out of our minds that we're so scared to get Shanahan again? That's really what it comes down to. He's told us Mitchell is the guy. He's proved to us Mitchell is the guy. He's done nothing but make Mitchell the guy, and he continues to do so. And you know what? You can bring in, I know we're not talking wide receivers, but you can bring in Brandon Ayuk. He's told us for weeks that Brandon Ayuk needed to show him more. He has the past 2 weeks, and he's given him the opportunity to be the number 2 again. There's Brandon Ayuk, who's been out there for the past 2 weeks and actually outperforming Deebo Samuel. So we have that in our mind, is that we don't want to get screwed by Shanahan, but let's be honest. He's been honest. He's been honest in exactly telling us what he's going to do.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Devonta Freeman at number 20 now. That's assuming Latavius Murray is going to be out, which we do not know as of Thursday night, but it would only be logical to assume that the guy who hasn't played in 2 weeks is unlikely to play on a short turnaround week. He is the one Ravens running back. You obviously can't trust him, but once you get past him in these rankings, it gets a little bit dicey. I mean, you can make the case that Gaskin could be higher. I have him at number 22 just based on the receptions that he can see, but I don't know who's playing quarterback in that game for one thing. And it will all have to be receiving yardage from him in this game, unless he scores like a 1-yard touchdown or something, because the Dolphins just aren't running the ball. Like, their pass over expectation is like through the roof somehow.
It really is. And I'm really ticked off as a sidebar is that freaking Tua situation took me off Survivor and went with the effing Dallas Cowboys. But anyway, because the Damian Harris, I would feel better about Damian Harris even over Freeman with no Latavius Murray. Granted the matchups, but I just feel better about Damian Harris, but he's got his situation of being danged up with a head injury. Stevenson got a head injury in the same game. I mean, you might have to update your rankings, and by the end of this week, we might have Brandon Bolden and J.J. Taylor as the only 2 options in that backfield.
Let's talk about that, because you're right. Both head injuries for Harris and Stevenson. They both may not play against Cleveland this week. Let's say that's the case. Where would Brandon Bolden rank? Would he be like, would you play him over Josh Jacobs, Devin Singletary?
No.
Okay.
No. I would
scale
play
it back.
Brandon Bolden. Yeah, I wouldn't even play him over the Denver guys. He'd be down there like McNichols. That's where he would deserve it. He'd be in the McNichols conversation. Same type of situation.
So he'd be top 30. I would expect him. I would have him over McNichols. I'd expect him to touch the ball more than McNichols would.
Yeah, possibly. But again, it's Belichick, and let's be real. Would anybody be shocked if they pulled somebody in off the street to be the third option? Because Bolden nor Taylor are true what you want to run between the tackles. And honestly, if they don't, I don't know that they give them that many run opportunities. We've seen this before from other teams. You know, like the Eagles at one point. You might have your leading rusher carry the ball 8 times. And then J.J. Taylor, like that being Bolden, carries the ball 8 times, gets 4 receptions. And J.J. Taylor carries it 4 times with 3 receptions. And then Jacob Johnson gets 2. How do you pronounce? Isn't his first name pronounced weird too? That's why I said it. Isn't it like Jakob or something like that?
Isn't he? Is he the German guy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not Jacob. It's not Jacob Johnson. It's like something. It's a weird pronunciation.
Well, anyone watching the Pat Mayo Experience out there in Munich, who I know at least 2 people who watch and listen in Munich, let us know the proper pronunciation on that name. That would be fantastic news. I have more breaking news for you, Jake. I just got sent this from our good friends at prizepicks.com, which you should go play at and deposit. Deposit like $10 or something in it. Code MMNNFL and use our link down in the description when you do it. If you deposit $100, they will just give you a free $100 to go along with it, so you'll have $200. And if you play a Thursday night football matchup contest, so one from the Ravens side, one from the Dolphins side this week, and over or under could be fantasy points, receiving yards, whatever it is that you like the best. And Lamar completes 1 pass. You don't even have to play Lamar, but if he completes 1 pass or more, you get another free $25. You might as well deposit $100, make a $25 entry, and the worst you can be doing, even if you lose, is up $100 at that point if you go to prizepicks.com and use code MMNNFL. Do you have any specific leans in that? They don't have all of it out so far. I was looking for Bateman over receptions in that game because I do think that Marquise Brown is going to be on Xavier Howard, and we've seen that Xavier Howard's so good at limiting people. It's just the rest of their defense sucks.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing about it, and I know we're not talking about it, but why I do have legitimate concern for Mahomes at this point, because we keep talking about how you stop receivers like Marquise Brown and Tyreek Hill, and if you want to, it's in the column. It's why I gave Mahomes 2.5 ducks for everybody out there, but the threat isn't the same, and that's why Mahomes isn't working, but Lamar Jackson is because you beat cover 2 by sucking in the secondary and pulling in those safeties, and then Marquise Brown says, see you later. But that's the thing, is like even with Xavier Howard, sure, Marquise Brown could have 3 for 80 for a touchdown, but the better opportunity, I'm with you on Bateman. I could see him catching 5 or 6 this week.
What would we do with, Waddle would be what I would want to play in that game. His receiving number opens at 64.5. I always just like him on receptions better. I might just go Gesicki over 52.5. Like, Parker's not going to be back. Fuller's not going to be back. Like, am I sweating Mac Hollins or the other, 8 really tall white guys who play tight end for their team? No, Gesicki just catches everything with one hand.
I was going to say, maybe that's the one you want to put the over-under on a touchdown for Durham Smythe. But no, yeah. Gesicki, when you said that, Gesicki feels like the better play there, honestly. Gesicki, I was off Gesicki for this year, but I was off Gesicki for this year thinking it was going to be Waddle, Parker, and Fuller, and then you get left out of the equation, similar to Tyler Boyd just being the third option, and most of the time left out. Noah Fant. I expected the Noah Fant situation to happen for Gesicki as well, but because everybody keeps getting hurt and nobody can stay on the field, and it's been Waddle and Gesicki's honestly been their Mark Andrews from past years, speaking of the Ravens. So I'm with you. I would much rather go to the Gesicki route, as much as it doesn't always feel good to go after a tight end for props.
Well, you can wait for more props to be out, but just go to prizepicks.com. You can use the link that's down in the description. Use code MMNNFL to qualify for that Lamar free $25 bonus. He has to complete a pass, of course, but I expect it. That's my hot take this week. I expect Lamar Jackson to complete 1 or more passes. So have fun with that. The rest of the rankings at running back from 21 all the way down to 30. Damian Harris, 21. Myles Gaskin, J.D. McKissick, Michael Hurricane Carter, Alex Collins, the Denver guys, Melvin Gordon and Javonte. Jeremy McNichols at 28, Kenyon Drake, and then that awful Mark Ingram. He's right there at number 30. He won me a prop last week, Jake. This might be Mark Ingram reconciliation year for me. Because I'm just digging how low that they put his rushing total every single week. It's like, he's going to get 10 rushes. He's going to be fine.
Good.
I don't want to play him in fantasy, but if they're going to continue to set his rushing prop at 28.5, I'm going to go over.
I don't even know what to do. I think we should just end the show right there.
That's it.
There's nowhere to go. This is the end. This is the end of the world. This is the end of time. This is how we know the apocalypse is here, is that you are not only just putting Ingram in your ranks and not asking a guest ranker because he's in worst place, but you're also betting on Mark Ingram. I don't even know what to think anymore. I was all hung up on the fact that I was going to tell you Melvin Gordon needs to be higher, and I don't even know what to do anymore.
Melvin Gordon, how much higher can I mean, I can see putting him over Carter and Collins and McKissick. I just like those game situations a lot. And I guess obviously I do like trading for Melvin Gordon. I like trading for Javonte Williams too. I just think that he costs more in a trade and that Melvin will probably end up scoring more fantasy points. It was like, if we just reversed to 2 weeks ago, if you had to trade for one of the Cardinals running backs, I would have told you James Conner because he would have come at half the price of Chase Edmonds despite scoring more fantasy points than Chase Edmonds. It's just a weird thing that people have in their minds. They think that Javonte is going to take this job where it's probably just going to remain a split the entire year. So I can move up Melvin. Like, would you play Melvin or Devonta Freeman?
I would. You just gave me something. That's actually, like, I was looking at the Damian Harris against Cleveland, as I would feel better about Melvin Gordon. The interesting one is J.D. McKissick, and it's going to come down to the reports on Antonio Gibson, because I have 1,000 concerns about Antonio Gibson for the rest of the season. My only concern for McKissick and hope for Gibson, just for fantasy purposes, I still don't think he plays the rest of the season 100%, but maybe the 13 days and you get reports that Gibson looks good, it looks like he has very little limitations, and that, that just caps McKissick a little bit, despite I know where you're going in this is the matchup. The matchup is you want the passing running back and passing, but they do use Gibson at times. So just because of that, I would feel a little bit better. He would probably be right where you have him, like Devonta Freeman versus Melvin Gordon. No Latavius Murray. I see the Freeman, but I'd still go Melvin Gordon. But I mean, I'm fine with you in this range, honestly.
All right, listen, I'll take the advice of the guy who's near the top of the rank. You're like one of the most accurate guys again. How is that possible? How do you do that?
For I am the only person top 10 running back, wide receiver, and tight end, but I'm not number one because I'm not even in the top 100 for quarterbacks.
How are we doing in defense? Fine.
We're like 30 something, or we got to make up a little ground down the stretch here.
All right. Well, I've had 2 great defense weeks in a row with like the streamers, so hopefully that's helping us catch up a little bit. Houston's where you wanted to be last week, man.
That was Jacksonville was on play too.
Yeah, I didn't have them ranked, so that was a tough beat for me and everyone else who didn't rank them. If we're gonna go down the list and take some shots here, like I don't like Gibson this week. I have him at 33. Boston Scott, I have the highest ranked of the Eagles running backs, but he seems to be like the least effective guy to score a touchdown at this point. I don't know. He looks the best of the bunch. Obviously, Howard is getting the majority of the goal line touches, but then Gainwell will get one too. It's just, if you cannot play an Eagles running back, that's probably the best way to do it. I would have Peterson higher ranked if they weren't going against New Orleans. That's why I think it's more of a McNichols game, because although McNichols ended up playing the majority of the snaps in the Titans backfield in that game, which was pretty encouraging considering they were up for most of that game, it was week 1 of 94-year-old Adrian Peterson. I do think that they give him more work as the season goes along.
Well, and on top of it too, I was just looking as we were talking to see that is pretty sure Adrian Peterson got all, if not most, of the goal line work, and because the Foreman, there's people said that if you watch the game that Foreman looked better at times than Adrian Peterson, but yeah, Adrian Peterson had the most snaps on rushing plays, 11. If overall McNichols had more because he had the passing downs, but yeah, goal to go, Peterson had 2, and goal line rushes, he had 2 as well. McNichols actually had 1, but Foreman had none. So There you go. And that was his first game, as you mentioned. I still think, Peterson is what we expected, what we said for last week. You and I agreed on that. It was like McNichols for that week, and I think going forward, I'd take Peterson barely over McNichols, but that's just mostly because if you're going to get similar workload, then I'll go for the person more likely to score the touchdown.
And I actually said I like McNichols better. I think that he is going to continue to contribute more. Obviously, in the passing game, he's going to contribute more. I just think he's going to end up touching the ball more, and I think that he's going to end up being the slightly better fantasy player. I could be totally wrong on that. I'd say it's like a 55% chance that McNichols is better than Peterson the rest of the season. I didn't expect this Donta Foreman thing to emerge whatsoever because, for years, Donta Foreman was like, oh my God, Donta Foreman might sign with this team. He might come back for the Texans. Like, stash Donta Foreman. It's like, no. Terrible idea. So now the one time that actually no one stashed him, he could be something. Funny how that works.
Maybe, possibly. And I look again. This is Adrian Peterson still out snapped and got more work in a game, which was his first game action in a long time. It was the first game action for Foreman too, but this is also somebody who's 37 versus Foreman still at the beginning-ish of his career. He's just been hurt for most of it.
Any love for Mike Davis going up against this, what we kind of saw get exposed last week is a subpar Dallas run defense, which isn't shocking. They're a bottom 10 run defense, but they looked brutal last week.
Nah, where you have them, you're hoping for a touchdown with Jordan Howard and Adrian Peterson and those kind of. That's all it is. It's you're just hoping for a touchdown, and they don't have very many other options. Although Zacchaeus is all of a sudden catching touchdowns, multiple touchdowns, or whatever it might be. That the only reason you're playing him is you're hoping for a touchdown. And I would not drop. I said you can if you need help. Like if you need a starter this week, I could see dropping Mike Davis, but Cordell Patterson, one injury away from making Mike Davis relevant as an Alex Collins type, an uninspiring low-end RB2. So I'm not dropping him unless I have to. But until, if anything were to happen to Patterson, this is the range he deserves to be in every single week. You low-end RB3, you hope he scores a touchdown.
Any other running back that we should be talking about or move on?
James Robinson's expected to play, so not there. It would just be Stevenson, but we already covered that with the Damian Williams situation. Outside of that, everything else is. No, I'm looking. You know what? Honestly, you mentioned his name before. I would have Benjamin higher. Not that it's one to nitpick on, but I would have him higher than the 50s. I'd have Eno in the JaMychal Hasty range. Same workload.
Do we know it's going to be the same workload, though? Because Benjamin seemed to get a lot of his work once that game was pretty much out of reach.
And it's also a game that they didn't plan to use Benjamin at all.
True.
It's just, you're not, like, let's be honest. Yeah, James Conner's going to be a bell cow, but he's not going to get Najee Harris 95% of the touches type of situation.
Yeah, I'm good with where I have him. I don't really care. No one's playing him. If you're playing Benjamin, you're probably
got some problems, but
yeah.
There might be people out there.
Potentially some. It might be me and my keeper team where I'm trying to tank but have to fill out a roster every week. Seems like a perfect guy for my team.
There you go. Play all the guys that you only want to score a touchdown, and then they don't score a touchdown and you get 2 points.
No, it sucks, actually, because I won in that league last week. I'm tied with Cust, who's trying to make the playoffs. We have the same record, and I've actively been trying to lose every game so I can have a top 1 pick next year. And now I'm tied with him. I have 2 wins somehow. Justin Fields is too good.
How insane is that you're trying to... Is that not the premier Cust situation? He's trying to win, you're trying to lose, and you guys have the same record.
I even traded him Kyle Pitts and Jalen Waddle 2 weeks ago, and Pitts has been trash ever since that he went on Cust team, by the way.
Well, just tell us who you know what you should do, Pat? You need to tweet out what his entire roster is, just so we know who to avoid.
That's not a terrible idea. I may have to do that. His season really went down the tubes with Derrick Henry, so that's probably the long and short of it. Wide receivers this week, week 10 rankings. Cooper Kupp continues to be at number 1. Devontae Adams, assuming Rodgers is back. Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman Jr., Deontay Johnson, Justin Jefferson, and Mike Evans. That is assuming that there is no Antonio Brown this week, because I have Godwin at number 11, DK Metcalf at 12, presuming that Russell Wilson will return this week, Hollywood Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Steph Diggs, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Hunter Renfrow, Mike Williams, and DeAndre Hopkins. I don't even know if Hopkins is going to play, but even when he has been played, he's had big games touchdown-wise, but that hamstring has severely limited him all year.
It really has. And it's not just the hamstring. Well, maybe it is. Maybe that's the reason for it, but a big part of why he's not been DeAndre Hopkins is because also not getting the 25-26% target share. It's been 19 and change. And part of it might, that includes a game where he didn't play the entire game. So you factor that in. But even so, he's down in team target percentage because Kyler Murray is using more Christian Kirk and Rondell Moore at times. And A.J. Green came in and took some of the opportunities away because A.J. Green got a little bit of revitalization in his life at the end of his career. Similar to Larry Fitzgerald, not quite to that success level. But all that being said, Hopkins is concerned, just period. And that's even before the injury situation. So I'm not going to fault you for, if you told me DeAndre Hopkins was your 25th wide receiver, I couldn't argue much at this point just because health and volume are both concerns.
This is also assuming that Kyler plays as well, which I think that he will this
Right.
week, although they might just play it. Now they're just playing with house money. I don't think that they really expected to win. It was like the Cooper Rush situation where it's like, oh, We got this win in a game that I don't think we were expecting to win whatsoever. Maybe we just sit him another week to make sure that he gets healthy, because we saw this with Kyler last year, where he had this like knee injury or ankle injury or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, like, he wasn't bad for the final 7 weeks, but he certainly wasn't good for the final 7 weeks.
No, he was off. And I was going to say, and the other part of that too is that the Rams lost. So that helps as well. If you got that double bonus, is that you won a game you didn't think you necessarily would have won, and then the Rams lost on top of it. I was going back. I was pulling that up when you were talking about it for last year, because it was Seattle, wasn't it? Because the Seattle game after that basically did nothing against New England, but Buck 73 had 3 touchdowns, but had a pick against the Rams, 244 and a touchdown, 406 and 3 against Philly, but then nothing against San Francisco in week 16, and then basically sat a lot of the game in week 17 against the Rams. So it could be a little bit concerning, the fact that not that that's going to repeat itself, but your point about if he's not 100%, they just don't play him this week.
That they don't play him, and even if he does play, if you're like trying to invest, I would actually think that he throws the ball a lot more, because we've seen his rushing numbers be way down this year anyway. That if he is dealing with any sort of leg injury, no matter where it is on the leg, probably not going to be running a ton.
No, and you and I have talked about a lot this year, is that Kyler Murray is not running this, and he's turned into a lot more of a pocket passer, and then it's similar to his running is almost like Daniel Jones, is he kind of just does it at times, and he's still good at it when he needs to, but it's just not as frequent as it ever used to be. And he's like, look at the yards per carry on top of it. That's the difference. It's not even so much the design runs, getting 7, 8, 9 yards. He's getting, what is his yards per carry? Like 3 something? I don't even know if it's 4. So he's completely different this year.
21 to 30 in the wide receiver rankings. I have Chase Claypool at number 21, although it was revealed this morning that he needs to go for an MRI on his toe. So now all of a sudden he is iffy in what's probably like Pittsburgh's best matchup against Detroit this week. Robert Woods at 22, Lockett, Cooper, Adam Thielen, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, Cole Beasley, AJ Green, and Rashad Bateman. That goes into Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Jarvis Landry, Emmanuel Sanders, Jamison Crowder, Nelson Aguilar, Van Jefferson, Cortland Sutton, Jamal Agnew, Spiro, and then the other Jacksonville receiver, Marvin Jones Jr. at number 40. Cortland Sutton has been abysmal every time that Jerry Jeudy has been active this year. Like, it's been a train wreck.
Yeah, Meany brought that up to me on the Monday show, and said that in the 3 games, it's only 3 games, but in the 3 games, he hasn't finished higher than wide receiver 60. That's damning. It's also still only 3 games, so it's not a huge sample, but I think it's the bigger fact is what we've been talking about, is Tim Patrick's not going away. You have Sutton over Patrick. I might flip-flop him at this point, despite there's not a single conversation I would start or end where it doesn't have Sutton is definitively the better talent than Tim Patrick. It just comes down to how they're using him. And that's a legitimate concern, although I think, honestly, I would still – I know you just put him down there. I would play both of them over Corey Davis against Buffalo, though.
Buffalo's defense is starting to get banged up. Like, just even watching that Jacksonville game last week, it was like every third play, just someone on Buffalo. It was even Tre'Davious White got hurt towards the end of that game. So,
yeah, but
listen,
still beat him more with.
Yeah, but this is still assuming that Magic Mike White plays, and Magic Mike is amazing.
And also, Magic Mike also does what you try to beat the Bills defense with, is underneath, and that's why I would say more of a Jameson Crowder, where you have him. More than Corey Davis. And I wouldn't be surprised if Elijah Moore has a better game than Corey Davis, even if active, that being Corey Davis. I just don't like Corey Davis. I don't like outside receivers. Unless you told me, now Tre'Davious White's not playing this week, then okay, maybe that's fine, because Corey Davis will just have more volume on a snap count basis. But yeah, as it stands, I would play both Denver guys before I played Corey Davis.
Okay, I'll drop down Corey Davis. I'll even drop him down underneath Elijah Moore. Another guy who helped me win last week. Of course, he scores 30 points for me. Stupid Elijah Moore. Would you go T.Y. Hilton or Corey Davis? I'm expecting T.Y.
I would. If T.Y. Hilton plays, I would go T.Y. Hilton.
All right. And Corey Davis might not even play in this game, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I know.
I would expect him to be back, though. Would you play Zacchaeus or Corey Davis?
I would play Corey Davis.
All right. So, yeah.
I don't want to. You said earlier about not wanting anybody in the Eagles' backfield. I don't want any of the Falcons or Saints wide receivers. Don't try and tell me which one's going to have a good week this week, because I don't trust any of them.
Well, I mean, according to my rankings, you're probably not going to play any of them. The highest ranked guy between Atlanta and New Orleans is Zacchaeus at number 48.
Yeah. And even then, Wow, that's just gross. I was gonna say, is there anybody behind him? No, the entire situation is disgusting.
Yeah. I originally, I
have
for whatever reason, I had left Tyler Boyd in my rankings. I just took him out because he's not playing this week.
The funny thing is, we're already at that point too. I got somebody last week, and somebody was like, "Where's the Detroit running backs?" I said, "On a bye? Like, are we at that point of the season where people don't even really know what the buys are anymore?"
It's still early in the week. I'm still trying to process it, going through. Let me ask you this, as it pertains to Cooper Kupp, because I did the rest of the season rankings by position, but Meany and I talked about like who like the top 10 players are in fantasy that you would want to trade for. I had Cooper Kupp at number 1 as the most valuable player in fantasy. That if you had Christian McCaffrey, and obviously it's team dependent. If you have 3 awesome receivers, obviously you wouldn't trade Christian McCaffrey for Cooper Kupp. Obviously. But in a vacuum, in a neutral situation, I think I'd rather have Kupp the rest of the year over anyone else.
And that's really what it comes down to is the consistency and the production. And if you just said head to head, the only reason you're arguing for running backs is the same thing we do at draft time, is you're arguing because it's harder to find running backs and how many we've lost already to this point, including Derrick Henry, and now it's just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. We're hoping Barkley comes back. Christian McCaffrey just came back. So I'd still take McCaffrey just because it's kind of your argument. I know you're going to push back, but I'm just saying it's kind of your argument for Kelsey. I know that Kupp gives you a giant advantage over most all wide receivers, but the Christian McCaffrey advantage over most all running backs is the same. But I'm going to take the running back advantage just because it's harder. But if you wanted to take Kupp, I wouldn't say you're crazy. That's what I'm saying.
The only thing with McCaffrey that worries me is that it's been a hamstring. It's been a leg injury 2 years in a row. He just came back. He looked fine. It's not that Cooper Kupp can't get hurt. Obviously he can. It's just the likelihood of a running back getting hurt seems much higher than a receiver at this point.
Oh, of course. And that's why I said I wouldn't argue. I'm trying to look right now. I was going to see... For Cooper Kupp, does he have a single game yet without 9 targets? Well, okay, he had 8 targets. His season low is 8 targets. And in that game, he still went 7 for 115 and a touchdown. I'm just like, he has 1 game without 92 yards. It was 5 for 64 in week 4.
Did he score a touchdown?
No.
No, bad game. Cut him. Sucks.
I know. What was that, 6.4 and 2.5? So it was a good old 8.9 game. What a bum.
I know.
Good grief.
Send him to the waiver wire. He's trash. Do you think Deshaun Jackson plays this week?
I can see him playing. I talked about this on my show, and I'm not dropping Bryan Edwards yet because I have hopes that...
Why do you own Bryan
Jackson...
Edwards? Bryan Edwards reeks, by the way.
He doesn't, because he actually didn't reek the 2 games before the Ruggs situation popped up, because what had happened with the coach change is not only that Drake started seeing more work, but Bryan Edwards is out there running as the 1. Second most opportunities only to Darren Waller and Foster Moreau in those 2 weeks because they go tight end first. And Deshaun Jackson fills Ruggs' role, as in go deep, expose the defense, or expand the defense, I should say. And that could help Edwards get back to what we saw in those 2 games. Still wide receiver 4. I'm not saying go crazy for Bryan Edwards, but in that same conversation of like the Hiltons of the world, and that's where the value comes. Now, is there a world where Deshaun Jackson comes in and he is the wide receiver 4? Sure. But Renfrow is the floor guy, and he occasionally scores a touchdown to get him inside the top 25, but he's the floor guy. If you're looking for the upside between Deshaun Jackson and Edwards, I'm holding out hope for one more game of Edwards to see what it looks like with Deshaun Jackson, but I'm not saying Deshaun Jackson might not be the answer. It might be him over Edwards.
Half-point PPR, I just want to see this right now, where Renfrow actually ranks. Renfrow is...
My guess would be 27.
Yeah, he's 26 on the year in points per game. But that's...
Yeah.
There's a couple guys on this list, like Cyril Grayson Jr. has more points per game than him. I don't even know who that is.
No, I got him at 32 on this list.
Oh, I'm looking at it differently then, I suppose.
He just might be like smidge of roundups or something on different sites.
Yeah. Anyway, he's been great all year. Like, he's been playable almost every single week. He's averaging like 6 catches a game. He's great.
I'm trying to think, like, he's basically Cole Beasley with more touchdowns.
Yeah, that's exactly. And Cole Beasley's almost a play every week anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I brought him up.
You
love the bees.
Any lean on where Beckham ends up going? Because that will probably happen today at some point. It just hasn't happened yet.
Lean, or do I really care like where it is? That's what it really comes down to.
I think that there would be certain situations where you would have to care about it. Giants?
That's what I'm saying. That's more of the like I don't know where he's gonna go. Like
Jets.
there's reports of where where he
Bucks.
wants to go, what teams actually care, and all that type of stuff. You know, Saints are in there, Seahawks are in there. I would prefer the Saints over the Seahawks despite the quarterback difference, because if he goes to the Seahawks, he's the third. If he goes to the Saints, he's the one. And that's really what it comes down to, is just I want volume where he goes. So, yeah.
You know where he could get a lot of volume at the moment? Atlanta.
Sure, but does Atlanta really want to waste time with that?
I don't know, maybe.
That's like it's kind of what Matt Ryan. He already tried to grasp to him, so maybe they do try to grasp. He also like he has a say, doesn't he? To a degree.
Well, yes and no. If someone claims him off waivers, he wouldn't have a say. But if he clears waivers,
right,
then he can sign with whoever he wants.
Then he can go wherever he wants. Yeah.
And there's only so many teams.
Comes down to,
and there's only so many teams that have cap room to absorb his waiver claim. I think it's 7.6 million. The Seahawks do have that ability, though.
Which is crazy to think that the Seahawks finally have cap room.
Yeah, nuts. Just like somehow I bet you like the Rams have $20 million in cap room, despite having.
So the cap means nothing.
Everyone who makes who makes $40 million this year? Oh, everyone on the Rams. But yeah, but they're not over the cap though. Can't be that way. Tight ends for the week. Make this one snappy. I think tight ends pretty much spells itself out. But Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, Kittle, Gesicki, Hawkinson, Gronk, who I do expect to be back this week. Goddard, Firemouth. Man, that guy's on a roll right now. And then Kyle Pitts at number 10.
And then get to number 13 for Mr. Dan Arnold.
Schultz, Dawson Knox, Dan Arnold.
There you go. Dan Arnold, I would put him up to 11 at this point. It's a small range.
Dalton Schultz has been better.
Not recently. Dan Arnold is essentially like turned into Gesicki, as he's the 1/2 for this team and been productive every single week.
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, that Jacksonville doesn't score a touchdown, so that's a problem for overall upside. And Schultz basically had the same week as Dan Arnold last week.
Yeah, but now Gallup is back too.
Yeah, I'm not really sweating that. Listen, Dan Arnold. I mean, I think what is it? Dalton Schultz has at least 4 catches, and I think in like 6 of 8 games so far this season.
Does he?
I think so. I think that's what it is, because I used him as a prize pick last week of over 4 receptions. He had exactly 4 receptions, and that was about as bad as Dallas's offense is going to look at any point this season, I feel.
Thank you for Dak Prescott saving your day, but nobody else's, with your 2 meaningless touchdowns for us.
Hey, listen, man. You're not starting Malik Turner?
Let's see. Well, so that's the Cooper Rush game. He had a 2 for 18 in week 2. The 2 for 11. The 2 for 11 in week 8 was
his 2 bad weeks were week 2 against the Chargers and the Cooper Rush game, when he still had 7 targets. It was just Cooper Rush. Other than that,
fine. You can keep Dalton Schultz over Dan Arnold. Fine.
Let's see. 4 for 54, 5 for 79, 6 for 79, 6 for 58, 6 for 80.
See, but that's my issue.
Dan Arnold's best game is like, what's he going to go? 5 for 70? That's like his upside.
Okay, is that fair? But also, it's not like Schultz is scoring a bajillion touchdowns. He has got 3, and 2 was in one game.
Yeah, I still like that. If all things are equal, which they kind of seem to be with these two, give me the offense.
And I already said you could have them.
That's just going to score points.
I said, okay, fine.
And that's kind of what it boils.
Dan Arnold.
And that's, I know you love Dan Arnold, but that's what it kind of boils down to. The same reason that I expect Dawson Knox to be back. That just, I mean, they didn't look very good last week, obviously, or against the Dolphins. I still have faith in the Bills' offense, though. And maybe some of their struggles have been that Dawson Knox hasn't been there. Maybe he's weirdly one of the missing elements that offense needs to go.
I will say this. Logan Thomas at 15 feels low.
That's a wait and see situation. I think that it's weird because Kelsey has still like been by far the best tight end, like even on a points per game basis. And then after that, there's been enough it's been a weird, like flat year at tight ends. There's not like Gesicki and Hawkinson are having good years, but they're still relatively inconsistent if you look at the whole full season scale. Waller has just been all over the map. Kittle's obviously been hurt. Honestly, from like 2 down to even Higbee. I mean, Fant is still like top 10 in overall scoring at tight end. Now, a lot of that was his situation, but there's not really that big of a difference after Kelsey so far.
No, there's really not. It's kind of that similar conversation we had in the preseason. It's Kelsey in a tier of his own, a couple, 3 or 4 guys, and then everybody else after that is just like find somebody who scores a touchdown.
Yeah, and if you can do that, then you're golden. Like, just looking at it right now, let's see, tight ends, half point average per game. Actually, Gronk is the one chasing Kelsey down right now, but he's only played 4 games. So
It's all touchdowns.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what he does on the
I was going
team.
to go back to the point last week. For the top 12 tight ends, only 2 didn't have touchdowns, Waller and Kmet. And the top 12 include Njoku, Ryan Griffin, Jeff Swain,
Steven
Evan
Anderson.
Ingram.
Parham.
Steven Anderson was number 5,
Yeah,
and
Parham.
Darnell Parham was 7.
Yeah, fun times at tight end. So, yeah, I mean, that's where the Dan Arnolds of the world have their role, along with Dalton Schultz, is that they're just going to give you like 7 to 11 points every week. Logan Thomas is in that boat too. Like, he's one of those guys. It's just at his higher end, he's better because he's like the wide receiver 2 on that team when he is completely right. So we'll see if he's completely right coming back week 1.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's go to quarterbacks. I almost ranked Aaron Rodgers number 1, by the way. It was very close for me. Because there's no, like, it just feels like if he plays, obviously, that he's going to throw like 20 touchdowns.
just to screw the
Yeah.
NFL.
Yeah,
Really?
you don't think that's right up Aaron Rodgers' alley?
I mean, Lauren called him Karen Rogers on my show.
Aaron Rodgers, I like it. I do have Lamar at number 1 on Thursday night. Brady, Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Wentz.
There you go.
What's that? You
I was going to say, there you go. I was actually going to come back to this and say, to the Mahomes conversation, I would put Mahomes at 6th at this point. I'm still not full panic mode, but the brief version, even briefer than I did on my show, the brief version is that teams are playing cover 2, unlike Baltimore. They don't have Lamar Jackson running up the middle, and they also don't have Patrick Mahomes, like Lamar Jackson is doing, is trusting anybody. You go watch the games, and I watched the last 3 weeks and really dove into it, and I watched a ton of the Giants game because I'm a Giants fan, quote unquote. But the fact is teams are playing cover 2, and the fact is like Mahomes has had opportunities to throw to Robinson and throw to Pringle, and not only have they dropped them, but they've dropped them, and he doesn't trust them, so he's not even throwing to them anymore. It's like Demarcus Robinson gets one-on-one, and then he tries to force it to Hill, and it almost turns into an interception.
Beckham to the Chiefs. Problem solved.
Honestly, that would be amazing. Put Patrick Mahomes back at number 1. The Hardman as the number 2 wide receiver has failed. He doesn't fit for what they need. Robinson is not an answer. Pringle's not an answer. Josh Gordon just runs into coverage and doesn't know how to separate anymore. What a surprise. He's been in and out of the league for 15 years since he's been irrelevant. What was it, 2013? So they need somebody, and Patrick Mahomes needs to trust somebody else. The problem is he has no faith in anybody, and you can't fault him for it.
No, I actually do think that Beckham's best landing spot, just as a pure luxury item, would be the Bills. I think that he is exactly what they're missing on that offense. Like, he's better.
A pure luxury item.
Yeah, he is. Like, he'd be better Emmanuel Sanders.
Sure, but I think the best fit for what could help him / the team / everything, like get the Chiefs, like NFL wise, make the most sense for what they need. Yeah, they need Beckham.
I want to see it. Yeah, where do you think? How good would Beckham be the rest of the season if he was on the Chiefs? Top 30? Top 25?
I was gonna say still wide receiver 3.
Yeah,
because you still have pecking order,
and you would still have like those Sammy Watkins games where it's like 11 for 175 and 3 touchdowns. Next week 0. Oh, great.
It would still be the roller coaster because you still have Hill and Kelsey, but that would help Hill too. The biggest thing about Hill too is that, I mean, there was one where I did some breakdown on Kirk Cousins on a show with people a few years ago, and I forget what show it was, but it was somebody said, go watch Kirk Cousins, pretend you never watched him ever before. So the problem with Kirk Cousins, he still does it to this day, is he'll overlook the open guy to take the more aggressive play 10 more yards downfield who's triple covered. He still does it at times. He doesn't do it as bad as he used to when he was with Washington. But that's kind of what Mahomes is doing right now. That was the interception he almost had against the Giants. He had open options, including the running back that was coming out free, and he forced it downfield to Hill and almost got intercepted on that play.
Not great. Shouldn't be doing that. Should be throwing to Travis Kelce, who I have in a ton of spots.
So Mahomes number 6 is what we're getting down to.
And run more, Patrick Mahomes. You were doing well when you were running, averaging like 30.
Lamar Jackson, that's what my point about with the cover too, is Lamar Jackson's such a running threat as you suck in the safety. Like that one beat of a step coming forward, thinking it might be a run, that's all you need, especially when you have somebody like Marquise Brown who goes, ha ha, all right, see you later, I'm gone.
What else do I have here? I have Wentz at number 8, but I think that if you play in a 2 QB or super flex league, he is such a sell right now. Like, just looking at his playoff schedule, it's not good.
No, it's not. And this isn't the victory lap, but it's
Patriots, Cardinals, Raiders. And Wentz has been so much better than I thought that he was going to be, especially after the first week when I was like victory lapping how awful he is. He's been really good. He still makes bonehead decisions, but overall, I would say that I would give him a very passing grade so far this year. It's kind of worked out for them, and the Colts are pretty good because of it. That's probably the worst quarterback schedule in the fantasy playoffs.
If fantasy playoffs, I was gonna say let's say not a victory lap, but this is why I was a sell on Joe Burrow and the receivers last week, is because it started with Cleveland, then they're bye, then they get Vegas, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Denver, Baltimore, Kansas City. So if you can get to the playoffs, it actually gets pretty for Burrow and the receivers with Baltimore and Kansas City in weeks 16 and 17. But it's kind of the reverse, is like, you almost want to like ride Wentz initially and then switch to Burrow. Maybe that's an option you can do if you can roster both of them, because you might be able to do that in a lot of leagues because of what you've been able to do. And this is the point. I'm still not going crazy to do so, but this is the point where I would consider starting to have a second quarterback in a single quarterback league, just in case your guy goes down, or starting to look at these kind of situations, because you don't want to be chasing the waiver wire and be chasing and going after a Ben Roethlisberger, Tyler Haneke, and something like that.
Yeah. I think after post-trade deadline is when you can start rostering 2 defenses and trying to play your matchups out, because you're trying to win a fantasy championship. You better prepare now so you don't have to have all your waiver priority or waiver dollars ready for you when you need them in weeks 14, 15, 16, and 17. You can plan accordingly now. You don't need a wide receiver 5 anymore. You need a handcuff backup too. Maybe not your guy, but whoever the guy is. Like, if, God forbid, anything happened to Alvin Kamara, you probably do want Mark Ingram. Just
I was just hoping you weren't going to say any of my players, so I appreciate that.
Who are your players?
No, we're not saying their names. I don't want to get them hurt.
No, fair enough. I'm not cussed over here. I'm doing okay.
Still.
I have Dak a bit down. I just want to see, like, he didn't look full strength last week. Maybe it'll be a little bit different here. He had, I don't want to say limited mobility. He's still more mobile than most quarterbacks are, but he didn't have his full line of mobility. I didn't love it. So I have him at 11, Hurts at 12. You want to buy someone now, buy Hurts when the dip is down, because his playoff schedule is like jokes. He just plays absolute scrub
and
teams.
Nobody wants him because they're all afraid that he's going to get benched for Minshew.
He's not going to get benched for Minshew. That's not happening.
I know. I've been screaming that from the top of the hills all season, and people are still. I'm afraid. What happens if he gets benched in week 14?
Then pick someone. You know what? Pick up Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, whoever's playing for the 49ers at that time, because they have a super easy schedule too. So there's your out if you want to do it. But trade for Jalen Hurts. You can get him for nothing right now. I have Kyler at number 13 because I don't know where he's at the moment, whether he's going to play or not. Russell Wilson. I feel like I gotta. 1 week, I just want to see it because he's returning like 2 weeks earlier from a broken hand on his throwing hand. So, like, that could go wrong in a hurry. Ben looked kind of okay on Monday night, and he's playing the Lions, who absolutely freak. But listen, better than he has looked. What's that?
No, I know, but also it's every single time he got hit in the pocket, it was like, is he getting up? Like,
listen, he's just
a boxer in the 11th round getting the 8 count.
Get up. He's an old man. He's older than I don't know if he's older than both of us, but he's at least older than me. And like, I know
he's older than both of us.
Is he older than both of us?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that a whole entire quarterback class is older than both of us.
Yeah, Ben's 39.
Because Eli's in that draft class. Rivers, he's the last man. Who would have thought of all like the body shots this guy has taken his entire career that he would be the last man standing of Eli, Rivers, and him?
Well, I feel like Rivers could play this year. I just don't think he wants to play.
That's why I kind of like.
And I'm still not unconvinced.
He said the Saints called that he'd be interested.
Yeah, I don't see why the Saints don't call him. Like, he's a substantial upgrade over all of their options right now.
Because Sean Payton's, there's similarities to the Kyler Shanahan. He's stubborn. He wants to do his thing. Well, and we're not going to know who's the starting quarterback until Sunday.
But if he wanted to do his thing, how doesn't Taysom Hill playing quarterback last week?
That's because maybe he wasn't 100%. Here's the real thing. You have Taysom Hill / Trevor Siemian / Jameis Winston before this hybrid-y, whatever the hell you're trying to do out their offense, which was working to a degree. How is Cam Newton not got a call?
That's true. I guess maybe they feel like Taysom is like the good version of Cam Newton right now.
Is Taysom Hill a good version of anything?
No, but it does. Listen, if Cam Newton was going to help you win, Cam Newton would be signed. And it seems like the league. I mean, he barely got a job with the Patriots last year, and it's not like he played great.
No, it's not. I mean, he also might be one of those situations where it doesn't want to play unless he knows he's going to have the starting job type of situation as well.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm him and I have all that money and an MVP behind my name, I'd probably be in the same situation as well. It's like, you guarantee me that I'm going to start, I'll come play for you. I don't want to be a backup.
I don't know. Backup quarterback is the best job in the world.
Yeah.
You don't have to get hit and broken and you get millions of dollars.
I don't think that Cam Newton needs the money, man.
A fair point.
So
I'll be the backup. I'll be the GM for the Mets. Nobody wants the Mets GM job. I'll take that.
just remember to call an Uber is all I'll say if you're a Mets GM.
Oh, I don't really drink, so I don't have to worry about that.
You could be the Uber driver and the GM. It'd be a perfect situation.
There you go. Double down. Call me at 3:00 in the morning. I'll bring the players home.
If it is announced that Taysom is starting against Tennessee, how high does he go? Number 10? Number 11?
15.
15? You would play Russell Wilson and Kyler over him against Tennessee?
I would.
Okay.
I would. I'm excited as Taysom Hill as much as I initially had. I was so frustrated about Joe Burrow being a QB1 for me last week because I didn't have him as a QB1 until Kyler, Taysom, and Tua all got kicked out. And I still didn't want Joe Burrow inside my top 12 because of the matchup. And it kind of got forced in that situation. So I said to say I had Taysom Hill around 10 or 11. That's also not with, Russell Wilson coming back. And I still would have had Kyler Murray in front of him, and I still would have had Jalen Hurts in front of him. So, yeah, I would, in your rankings, I put him at 15.
Before we get to the defenses, want to remind you, prizepicks.com, code MMNNFL, deposit match of up to $100. And if you play a Thursday Night Football entry this week and Lamar throws for one or more passes that are complete, obviously, you get another $25 bonus. And that's available in over 30 states right now. So more than sportsbooks are available if you don't have access to that, and across Canada as well if you want to do that. Prizepicks.com, code MMNNFL for this week in that promo. I got the Ravens at number 1 in defense, the Cards at number 2, Bills, Colts, Rams, Bucks, Saints, Steelers, Browns, Cowboys. Then that goes into the Patriots, Titans, Panthers, and Broncos. Is there any other defense that I really should be considering this week to put up there?
I was trying to think as you're going through this list to see if there was anybody else.
My favorite teams to pick on aren't playing this week. It sucks. Like the Giants aren't playing. Who are the other ones? The Texans aren't playing.
I know there's a lot of here that isn't happening.
Bengals aren't playing. And they've been sort of like a boon to, because they can't block. All the teams that can't block, just play against them. Like the Dolphins, legit, like they're by far the worst pass blocking team in football. Then it's the Giants. Like the Vikings are bad. The Panthers are bad. The Titans are really bad.
You have I was about to say you have the Titans at 12. Like there's really I mean, if you're putting the Titans inside, that's essentially a DST1. I mean, that's how you have to know it's slim options this week.
Well, that's only if Simeon is playing. If Taysom Hill is playing, I'd probably drop the Titans out of it because they're going to be facing 58 rushing attempts.
Yeah, of course. So. And yeah, there's really not much else here because the Broncos, I'm not really excited about them, but Jalen Hurts, there's potential for sacks and turnovers, but that's why they're at 14.
But they also the Broncos are there because the Eagles are just going to try to run as much as possible, and that just isn't what I want. Like that's why the Dolphins the Dolphins are the perfect scenario to play anyone against because they can't block, they turn it over a ton, and they pass way more than they should.
I know. My point that I was making was that even them being at 14 is how rough the defenses are this week. I think even in my waiver column for the stream options, it was a very thin streamable option week. Normally I have about 7 or 8. Yeah, I have 6. And that's even with Raiders against the Chiefs as the 6th best streaming option, but they're not even like, I don't even want to start the streaming options. These are just like who might be out there.
You know what? I'm going to bump the keep the Patriots at 11. I'll bump the Titans down to 12. I'm going to add the Packers just after talking it through with you that Russell Wilson just might not be right in his first game back. And they also can't block. So that could just be easy pickings if Russell's like 70% or something.
Yeah.
It's not.
Did you put the Raiders at 15?
The Raiders?
I think the Raiders are sneaky good for their pass rush and what's going on, what we just talked about with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'll go with the Raiders. I'll chuck in the Raiders at number, I guess that would make them 16 now, because that will make the Packers number 12.
There you go.
Packers number 12. There we go. Yeah, so that will make them, there, we have a full complement of 16 for defenses this week. There we are. Easy stuff. Oh, wait, the Raiders are LV, featuring Coolio.
You had it right initially. There you go. Live editing.
I think I got it all done. I'll make sure that those rankings, now the rankings will be all updated in the column as well. That's why I have this fancy spreadsheet these days, Jake, because it just auto-populates to the column. If I could ever figure out a way to do my template where I can just go in and change it once instead of having to go into each individual article and changing the template at the top, we would be in the bonus money at that point.
Well, there you go. Less work.
That's all I'm looking for. I'm just looking for less work. Everyone knows this.
More sleep. Less work, more sleep.
Yes, I don't get a ton of sleep, although the kids are starting to sleep a little bit better, which is nice, especially with the winter months approaching, that I don't want to be up at like 4 a.m.
I don't know how you do it.
Well, you do it, is just kind of the answer to it. What are you going to do? Not do
Tua
it?
is a game time decision for your heads up there.
I think he's going to play.
Hope so. I don't really care anymore.
Yeah,
Survivor got ruined. Don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe you were on the Dolphins to begin with anyway.
Playing Texans.
I get that.
That was easy.
I mean, I got bumped the week before by playing the Bengals against playing the Jets, and that didn't work.
No, I had tweeted that out there like the third week of the season. I said, here's your entire schedule, just all Texans and Lions the rest of the season. And it was the perfect schedule, and it hasn't failed yet. And I had the Dolphins ready to rock this week and came off of them as soon as Tua got hurt because it was like, hey, like the Cowboys at home, looking great. And
I ranked the wide receivers the rest of the season. I don't know if you saw it or not. I'm guessing that you didn't because you're a busy man. Cooper Kupp, number 1. Devontae Adams, number 2. Do you know who my number 3 overall receiver was for the rest of the season?
Rest of the season?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Let me try to take a guess in my head. Jamar Chase.
It is not Jamar Chase.
I don't like the schedule, so that's good.
It's someone with a really nice schedule.
So with a really, I haven't looked at all. That's tomorrow for me. So Debo?
Debo was pretty close. I think I had Debo at. I mean, I
don't like the fact that Kittle and
we'll see.
are doing things.
Well, I mean, he was still limited with a calf injury last week. Too,
I have a feeling it's going to be a surprise. That's what Michael Pittman.
No, Michael Pittman's way down because of that Colts schedule.
Okay.
It's AJ Brown.
Oh, I skipped over him because I was trying to think of like the way that you asked it. I was trying to think of like names that like wouldn't make sense.
No, I mean, obviously it makes sense, but I would guess that most people, if they were re-ranking the rest of the season, they'd have him at like 8, 9, 10. I think like if you have Debo, trade him for AJ Brown right now. I think he's better than Tyreek Hill the rest of the season.
I love the Debo thing was again because Ayuk and Kittle Ayuk and Kittle. I don't know why I said no. I mean, even last week with Julio back, what was it? 4% of the team's targets, and it was not a great game, but still that was with Julio playing.
The one, I mean, I'd probably wait a week because I think that he actually has a good week this week. But if Diggs,
he had 42% of the targets last week.
And there we go. And do you really think that's going anywhere?
No, that's with Julio getting 15%.
Yeah. I think if Diggs has a good week this week, just trade him for trade up with Diggs. Like that's a situation where there's legit too many mouths to feed in that offense.
There is.
It's like
and
Hopkins.
Buffalo don't they have 2 or 3 tough? Yeah, they got the Saints and then the Patriots twice. They have a couple bouncy around type, not great matchups down the rest of the way.
Yeah, and this should be the week where he goes nuts against the Jets.
Should be.
Yeah.
Until they win and Cuss puts the Jets in the Super Bowl.
That will be, I mean, good for content. Bad for Paul, who's producing this show, who loves the Bills, but good for content nonetheless. You can check out all the rankings in the description. You can get the injury cheat sheet down there, the prizepicks.com, code MMNNFL. Link is down there as well. The Listeners League link is down there. Sub to the channel, like the episode. Jake, your rankings come out at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, correct?
Yes. Correct. 100% correct. Just like you, update them all the way through Sunday for kickoff and the adjusted points allowed. That's what I was talking about, looking at the schedule. So look at some trade deadline targets. And then, that pod will be up that you're a part of. Thank you very much.
Yes, no problem. Happy to do it, sir. You always are so generous with your time to me. I feel like I could spare the 2 minutes and 30 seconds to be generous with my time to you.
Hey, a lot of people didn't have 2 minutes to 3 minutes to spare, so whatever.
Hey, it's a busy life out there, Jake. Happens. I will have a rankings update on Saturday. Other than that, the regular shows are coming throughout the course of the week. So I want to thank you all for watching. Enjoy the week. Good luck this week. Let's win this week, okay? I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience. Experience.